Have you always been this way of just mentoring and wanting to help, or is there a certain breaking point to where like you just wanted to start doing this more? Because you've always, even just since I've known you, you've always been such a good communicator and educator, and you've had this deep down desire to help.
You know, that's a good question. I think, so for me personally, school was always super easy. For me personally, I was way different. I was a hard kid, right? Because I was bored with everything, right? And so what I realized is I needed more than what I had as far as mental stimulation and education. But that was hard for my folks to deal with, you know, so essentially they tried to beat a lot of that independence out of me. So it wasn't long after that, like even in through high school, I'm like, I have a skill and a knack that not many people around me have. And I used it to manipulate the system. Like I was a classic narcissist. Like I could get anybody to do anything that I wanted growing up. And I realized that very early on. Like, and I would use that to my advantage, whether it was with even when I was in the Marine Corps, like my supervisors, you know, that were way higher ranking than me, I could manipulate the system and convince them that I should be the guy who should get the day off. Or I, you know, I was the smartest guy and that I should be promoted before everyone else or whatever, right? And then, and it was in my relationships too. Like I could convince whatever friend, you know, to let me borrow their car or let me borrow their boat or let me do whatever, right? And that went on, you know, until I realized that I hadn't built any real relationships because it was all superficial manipulation, and that I could use that to help people. And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, moved back here, I flew up through the ranks in the coal mine because I could communicate on whatever level the workers were. I could communicate well with ownership, and I could communicate well with the brand new green hat miner trainee. And I could figure out what motivated them to get the most out of them that I ever could. So like I would inherit a mining crew that had been a problem. Like the old style coal mine foreman who was like the yell and scream and iron fist and whatever. And these guys would just lay down because there's a lot of young guys, like the next generation of guys that didn't respond to that, right? Whereas like my dad's generation was like, screw you, I'm going to prove to you that I can work harder or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And these guys were like, you know?
Yeah.
So I would inherit these crews and I would figure out how to motivate them and like what was bothering them and all of that stuff through those skills. We would break records. We would be the safest because I was like, okay, I want everyone to go home with all your fingers and toes no matter what, because I care about you and your family and your future, right? And if you're broken, you're not good to anyone, let alone me. And then if we work together, we can cut more coal, more tons, put more roof bolts in. Like we can do this.
So do you think that changed from me to we? How you viewed because you were saying like you got what you wanted essentially growing up in narcissist, but with this, did that change to like you were starting to think more?
Totally did, because then now I'm getting high praise and accolades for all of my skills. I'm like, oh, so it's not just about me. Like I'm imparting, and then I'm seeing these young men and women evolve into like the next best version of themselves.
Right.
Because they just needed someone to listen to them and get on their level and not force this nonsense down their throat and cultivate them. And then I see them going and getting their electrical certifications and their mind forming papers, and then them being the next boss or the next fire boss or the next leader, next best mechanic, electrician, all of those things. And I was like, and that's because of me. Like I helped them realize in themselves what they could do to go to the next level.
Right.
And so anything that I'm passionate about, I want everyone to appreciate it too, on whatever level they're at.
Yeah.
Whether it's a consumer whether they want to start their own direct-to-consumer business, whether they aspire to be a chef or whatever. I want to be like the conduit to connect them with the people that they need to connect with for them to get to the next level that they need to be.
Right.
Which is why I'm involved in so many local, state, and national organizations, whether it's on the boards of directors or in their education arms, because I want to be the conduit no matter what it is, whether it's ag, whether it's, Colorado River District, whether it's whatever, because there's so many people who want to do better, want to do more. It just needs someone to point him in the right direction.
Yeah. Man, how many hours of sleep do you think you get?
Not enough most of the time.
Because that's a lot.
It is a lot. We had a domestic water meeting last night that I was running the meeting because the president's on vacation. So you set up the agenda and you set up the Zoom link and you get together and you go through the meeting, all that stuff. And which I missed another meeting because it was at the same time,